Hello, so what I'm going to do today is show you how to get Crimson 3.1 talking to B-Scada's Status Enterprise SCADA system using MQTT. I've already got B-Scada's SCADA installed on this machine. You have to jump through a few hoops to get that done, so I didn't put that as part of the demo, but I'm assuming you're capable of figuring that out. So let's get started by going into Crimson, and I'm going to create myself a database. I'm working with an edge controller here, which is fine. I'm going to go in and create 4 numeric tags, go onto the display pages, get these 4 tags, and drag them across onto the page, make them a little bit bigger, and I'm going to set these top 2 here for data entry, and I'm going to go into the page properties, and under actions on update, I'm going to say tag 3 and tag 4. I would like to increment on every page update. And I'm going to go into my web server. I'm going to turn on remote control, go into communications, give my unit a auto config 0 config name so I can easily talk to it, and download. So now that's done, I can go into my web browser and I can type http test.local. That'll take us to the enhanced web server, go into remote view, and sure enough, there's my tags that are incrementing. And these I can enter. So this is the test database I'm going to be using. So now let's go over into B-Scada, into status, and set up some tags that we're going to map to these. So if you've used B-Scada's software before, you know it's based upon a fairly rich data model. So I'm going to go into the application launcher, open the data model designer, log in as administrator with no password, which are the defaults. And here's my empty configuration. And I'm going to create a data type that's going to contain the Crimson tag. So we might as well call it Crimson tags. And I'm going to add a property to that. It's going to be a 32-bit integer because that's what we're playing with. And it's going to be called tag 1. And I'm going to do the same for tag 2, tag 3, and tag 4. So that's a data type. That's not anything that actually holds any data values right now. So I'm going to go into assets, and under assets, I'm going to create an instance of that data type, which is also going to be called Crimson tags. And that's where I'm going to be storing my data. So now we have to establish the MQTT connector and map the tag. So let's go in here to data mappings. And we are going to connect to this database. We're going to create a new one called MQTT. And we are going to use the, where is it? The MQTT broker. Here's the settings. I'm going to have it listed on port 2883 rather than 1883 because I've already got another MQTT system installed on this machine. So I'm going to use 2883. You'd usually use 1883. And I'm going to call it username, and I'm just going to call it user and password. And that's all set up now. Now, there's a bit more to do, but for now, I'm just going to save that. And I'm going to do one other thing, which is I'm going to open a hole in the Windows firewall so that we can actually talk to this computer and get to port 2883 from our edge controller. So to do that, let's go into the firewall configuration. I'm going to go to Advanced Settings, Inbound Rules, New Rule, Port 2883, allow the connection, all networks, MQTT 2883. And that's it. So now we can get to this thing. So we don't have to worry about any of that. So now let's go back into Crimson and let's go into our generic MQTT client. And this is, so obviously it's a generic driver. It's actually capable of talking to most MQTT devices, but it's also well suited to talking to B-Scada. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to give the edge controller the address of this computer, which I know is that. The publication and subscription topics I'm going to leave as default. This already defaults to user and password, which I've set that up to. This I'm going to go and change to 2883. This I'm going to leave alone. And under tags, I'm going to go into my tags. And I'm going to drag them across. And now I can download this. And now my edge controller is trying to push these tags into B-Scada, but it's not listening because it isn't. We haven't told it to expect these values yet. So to make that a bit easier, there's this little thing here that lets you export the tags. So I'm going to go and export these tags as a CSV file that has just appeared on my desktop. And then I'm going to go back into my data model designer. And back to data mapping, connect. Open MQTT, back into the settings here, and I'm going to go into import here, and I'm going to import that file. And this is now created for subscriptions. It is basically subscribing to an internal broker that we're publishing to. And you can see it's using Crimson generic device pub as the topic. That's the default topic that our generic broker will talk to. Our generic client will talk to. And it's listening for tags tag 1, tags tag 2, tags tag 3, tags tag 4. Easy as that. Now what we have to do is map this across into the instance, the asset instance that we created, the type instance that we created. Now, it's a bit flaky here in that these don't appear here. You've got to save this, close it, and reopen it. Sorry, close it and reopen it. And then these things appear here, look. So now we can go into our asset. There's our Crimson tag asset. It has a property of tag 1, which we're going to map to tag 1 over here. I'm going to create a 100 millisecond update rate, and I'm going to add a mapping. And then I'm going to do tag 2, add mapping, tag 3, add mapping, tag 4, add mapping, and I'm going to save. And now this device is subscribing to those topics on the broker. It is looking for the tag data, and it's moving it into those internal values. So let's go into the Mimic Designer and see if this thing's working. So open the Mimic Designer as administrator again. Put the window to a nice size. And let's create a new Mimic. We'll just call it Mimic. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to get, let's put some input boxes on here. Whoops. So copy, paste, paste, paste. Let's move this one down here. Select, align left, space vertically. This one here I'm going to map to, guess what, tag 1. This one I'm going to map to tag 2. This one I'm going to map to tag 3. This one I'm going to map to tag 4. You can already see there's some data in there, right? So let's save this under Mimics and let's run it. So we're in the Mimic runtime. And there it is. Look, we're actually getting data. So let's go into our web server. And sure enough, look, there's the tags coming from Crimson. And here they are appearing here. There's a little bit of a lag, largely because of its update rates, not ours. We can go in here, enter a value of 2000. And look, there it went across. So that was easy enough. So how about getting stuff to go in the other direction? Well, let's go back into Crimson. And under here, we can say enable writes. And now let's re-export our tags. And now it's going to add a little bit more to the CSV file to let the transfer go in both directions. So to get them to go into the other direction, we're going to go back into our data model designer. I wish these windows wouldn't keep going back to full screen, but there you go. I am going to open up under data mappings. I am going to connect. I am going to open up our setup. Here you can see our mappings. I am going to go in here. I am going to re-import that such that now these have been modified with a publication topic. So when they change within the SCADA system, they'll be published to this topic, which we are monitoring. And this is the little JSON fragment that will be created that tells it to set tag 3 or tag 4 or whatever it is. The other thing we've got to do is go in here and we've got to set these up so that we can communicate in both directions. So we're going to set these to two-way and we're going to save this. And I found that actually you want to disable and enable this to get these right things to kick across. And also you want to certainly recycle your HMI just to make sure it's now subscribing to that topic. So we'll just stop and start the database there, and now we should be good. So if we now go back into our Mimic, here we can see our values are increasing. Let's enter a value of 1000 in there and go back to our display page, and sure enough there's 1000. Let's put 1010. And sure enough, there's 1010. So now we got the rights working as well. So as you see, it's not really that difficult. So you can use the, the generic SCADA driver, the generic MQTT driver within Crimson. Not a lot of setup, and we have this automatic little thing here that will do a lot of the tag mapping for you and all the JSON creation, so you don't have to mess around with it. A little bit more of a drill down on what we've got here within the client. You have the ability to pass device data to the system that you can map to if you like. that can optionally include location data and cellular signal strength. That's pre-beta, so that doesn't actually do anything right now. And you can also create multiple tag sets that are structured in different ways and have different update rates. Here we have one tag set with a 1 second update rate. We could lower that. Maybe there are other tags that we want to transfer less often, so we'd put them in a separate set. Maybe we don't want rights for those tags, so you could put them in a separate set for that reason. We can use a triggered update if we like, in which case on the rising edge of this expression, the write will occur or the push will occur, and we'll get an acknowledgement back. We can do things like alter the way in which the tags are structured. This comes into play if you are using a folder hierarchy within your tag. So if you had a group here, like group 1, tag 1, then you could restructure things here so that the JSON would be hierarchical, so as to match the tag structure that you've created. That's going to change the contents of the CSV file that you're going to have to import. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, if you're doing it this way, because it's invisible to you, because we handle both ends. But for other clients, that might matter. You can change the way arrays are presented, and like I said earlier, you could enable or disable writes. And that's pretty much it. It's very simple. It works very well, and the data quite happily travels in both directions over MQTT between Crimson 3.1 and Status Enterprise's MQTT connector. So there you go. Thank you, and goodbye.